Hi guys, welcome to another video. Thank you for tuning in. So today's video is going to be a two-part series. So the first part I will be diving into in this video is going to be about traveling alone / living abroad / living during a pandemic, and part 2 will be modeling in Singapore. So just to preface my experience, I was living in Singapore for about 4.5 months. So I just got back. I'm stuck in hotel quarantine right now. As you can see, it's actually not that bad. I'm not even stuck. I use that term loosely because I feel like I'm actually being treated pretty well. It's giving me time to reflect and just to think about my experience and what I want to do moving forward now that I'm back home. So first question is, out of all the countries, why Singapore? So I chose Singapore mainly because of 3 or 4 main reasons. One is it's a very safe country, so it's safe for me as a female solo traveler. It is an English speaking country, the food is great, and also I had some friends in Singapore. So I thought it was a good kind of first base country to start my modeling career. So I've got some questions about stress and anxiety moving to a new place and how to make friends. It was super stressful for me moving to Singapore because I actually had landed in Singapore and I had kind of gotten signed with an agency like right off the bat, and they wanted me to get to Singapore like straight away. So I actually booked my accommodation and my flights like 2 days before I left. But I already knew I was gonna leave. I was just waiting for like cheap flights. So I did that and I got there and I actually stayed in a hostel. So that wasn't great, but I was meant to stay there for like 2.5 weeks. I ended up staying there for 4 days simply because I actually got flown out to Taiwan after 4 days in Singapore. That was my first job. So I actually had found an accommodation in Singapore like 2 days before I left for Taiwan. So I paid my deposit and everything in cash. So I was so worried about like not getting the deposit back if I decided to go to Australia. So the rent was $800 a month, which was pretty good for a condominium all the way in Singapore in Hillview, which is an expat or like an expensive area. So I got a pretty good deal. It was a really nice, quiet environment. So that was really nice for me. It was nurturing. And then everything kind of fell down and we went into lockdown in Singapore, or circuit breaker. So that will be onto my next question. What was life like during circuit breaker? So during circuit break, I actually, oh my lord, I actually had no work for like almost 2 months. I had like maybe 3 jobs, and you had to apply for permits during those jobs. It wasn't eventful at all. It was quite interesting actually. So they started implementing social distancing stickers, but you had to be 1 meter apart, you couldn't sit next to each other on a bus and things like that, and just life slowed down. It went from like busy to inactive within like days in Singapore. So that was a pretty crazy moment for me. I was stuck at home a lot, so I was going a little bit crazy. It wasn't so great for my mental health because obviously I was alone and I was stuck during a pandemic and I wasn't sure whether or not to go back home or stay there. So that was pretty intense for me actually. So circuit breaker wasn't the best time for me but mentally, but I think it also taught me a lot about resilience, and I powered through and I got through it, and then eventually jobs picked up. After that we went into phase 1, phase 2. Phase 2 was when life was kind of like almost normal, but you had to wear masks and practice precautions, but everything was opening up. You didn't have to like social distance anymore, not as much anyways. So yeah, that was life. I didn't have money coming in, so I was walking to the grocery stores a lot, and the nearest grocery store that was like affordable was Sheng Siong or Fair Price, and that was down in Bukit Panjang, and I lived in Hillview. So for me to walk from Hillview to Bukit Panjang was about 40 minutes, but it was actually really good for me physically because the humidity got to me as well. So I sweated a lot, so I probably burned through a lot of calories. and that was 40 minutes to get there, and then I would walk 40 minutes back. So yeah, I walked a lot during circuit breaker just to save money basically. I was super frugal, I was living on a budget. Yeah, so it taught me a lot about life and money and saving. Word of advice for introverts traveling alone. So I would say set an agenda. You don't have to communicate with anyone, but just set an agenda of what you want to achieve that day. Maybe it could be something as simple as getting the best egg tart, and that will get you moving, and it will get you trying to explore a country or a part of a country. So I was exploring all over different areas, and I was doing TikTok videos about it as well. I was going to like East Coast, like anytime I had a casting, I would always make it a mission to try to explore the food in that area. So that's what I was doing. There wasn't much else to do in Singapore during that time, so food was my main agenda. So that's what I was doing for most of it. And yeah, as an introvert, it's hard to reach out to people. I would say I fall into the middle spectrum where I'm like introverted, extroverted. So for me, my introverted side, whenever it comes out, would be to just stay home. But because I was in a new country, I didn't want to just stay home. I wanted to at least explore the country. So I just set agendas to maybe, you know, take a train down to the end of the line. Like I went to Harbourfront for the first time, and I went to Sentosa, and it was completely dead, but I just walked around after my casting, and I just went all around. I went to the lookout and everything, and that was just really fun for me because it was just a time for me to just explore a country and enjoy it on my own. Singaporean slangs that I picked up. Shook. It just means like, oh, cool, great. I haven't used it though. It's just something that I've learned. But a lot of the things I'll say is when I'm at work and people are like, can or cannot lah, and then I'll be like, can lah. So I'll say that instead of yes or no. But I wouldn't say I'm fully Singaporean. I think my Aussie accent's pretty heavy at the moment. But yeah, I did notice a little things that I was doing that was quite, you know, Singaporean. Memorable things about Singapore. I had a lot of little memorable things. There was no like massive big highlight. A lot of the little memories that I made during Singapore have kind of just come together and amalgamated into this one big highlight. So I've learnt a lot during my experiences. I discovered film in my last week, and I basically went out every night. I was drinking sake, I was drinking soju and beer. I was just having a lot of fun with my friends, and we were taking photos and everything. So a lot of it was just to do with some of the things that I did with my friends. You know, just talking to each other and just being in the moment. So difference between Aussie and Singaporean life. For sure, the pace. The Aussie pace is really laid back, it's really slow, it's chill, you clock in, you clock out, there's no such thing as overtime unless you're getting paid for it. Whereas in Singapore, everything's really fast paced and you get burnt out like crazy. Like it's super fun though, because it's always nice to be busy, but sometimes it can take a toll on you. But for me, I enjoyed the pace, I enjoyed the busy lifestyle, so it's really nice to actually appreciate the slow life now back in Australia. Now that I'm back home in hotel quarantine, it's actually been nice to enjoy the slow pace. So yeah, how did I feel traveling during COVID-19? What are the precautions that I took? Right, this is a good question. So how did I feel? I was pretty nervous. When I was flying from Taiwan to Singapore and for my job, when I was flying to Taiwan, it was exciting, it was exhilarating, nothing was happening yet. But when I was flying back to Singapore, that was really nerve-wracking for me, because that was when COVID was starting to escalate in Singapore, and it started to feel quite real then and there, and that was back in March. So I remember just thinking how nervous I was. I tried to not eat on flights, but obviously I was hungry, so I ended up just caving and eating, and it was Singapore Airlines, so I kind of trusted the airline as well. So I just ate, but I remember being so precautious. I would have a mask on the whole time, and if I drank water, I would lift the mask up and I would drink from underneath. I would wear my glasses. So if you don't know, I have I don't have 20/20 vision, but I wear contacts at nighttime to help correct my vision. So I was wearing glasses during the flights just to protect my eyes because I didn't have goggles or anything. So that's what I was doing while traveling during COVID. Obviously I was sanitizing every few seconds. I didn't have time to like go to the toilet and wash my hands because I had like a lot of luggage with me. So I was just sanitizing a lot. When I was traveling home, I basically did not eat because COVID was quite bad, so I didn't want to eat. I know it was safe to eat though, but I wasn't hungry either because I literally got on the plane and I just knocked out. I flat out knocked out. But then I woke up in time to snap a few sunrise pics, so that was incredible. It was like my body just urged me to wake up. But no, it was actually the flight attendant because she was serving us breakfast. Also, the other thing that I did was I would wipe down the tray tables before I put my phone and things like that on top. I would wipe down like certain areas like the armrest. And I got here and I'm COVID negative for now. I'm pretty safe and I'm pretty thankful and I'm so grateful for my health at the moment. Like traveling during these times has really made me appreciate free healthcare in Australia. It's also made me appreciate how important it is to look after yourself mentally, physically and spiritually, because you just never know what's gonna happen. So yeah. What's my favorite food in SG in Singapore and favorite hangout place? I really like Chinatown area. There's something that's a bit of an enigma about it. It's stimulating visually and spiritually while you're there. I also really liked Xiaolong Bao's. I love that. Too bad I didn't get Din Tai Fung there because apparently it's super good. It's a lot better than the Din Tai Fung in Melbourne, obviously. Yeah, and not Din Tai Fung, and Xiaolong Bao's are only like $3-4 in Singapore, which is mind-blowing for me because it's so expensive here in Australia. And egg tarts, oh my god, Portuguese egg tarts were like an obsession that I had while I was in Singapore for like a short period during phase 2. I was just obsessed with it and I had to try it at every like place that I went to or every bakery I went to. I had the best curry puff in Beauty World. I had the best Portuguese egg tart in Juchat. Oh, it was so crumbly. It's the best. I had the best wonton noodles. I'm such a sucker for wonton noodles. So I had the best wonton noodles when I was in, where was I? In Woodlands. Of all places, Woodlands, MRT had the best wonton noodles. The best prawn wonton noodles. Prawn mee was really good. My friend Jagan took me to a place called Mrs. Kim's famous prawn mee, I think. I can't remember. It's in Eunos, so it's quite far in the east side. So I had so much good food. I can't even pinpoint what was like the best or not because they were all pretty incredible. How did I deal with the heat and humidity? Right, I didn't. I just kind of sucked it up and I just did it and I just dealt with it. Honestly, the hardest part was having to wear a mask 24/7 while walking in the heat. That really killed me. I would always have to like lift my mask out to just breathe for a little bit, and I would basically go into a 7-Eleven or into a shopping center and just hide there for like a good 10 minutes to just cool down. And yeah, that's literally what I did. So things I love and miss about Singapore. I loved the food. I miss the food. I miss the heat a little bit. Now being back in, I miss the humidity as well because I feel like my skin is always dry now and I'm always dehydrated. I wake up with like a slight dehydrated, sorish throat. Not COVID, just dehydration. I definitely miss the food. I miss the people. I think that's number one. I miss the people. I miss my friends back in Singapore and being able to just hang out with them. So I miss that. So yeah. Okay, and the final question I have is, what was your biggest takeaway from this experience in Singapore? So the biggest takeaways for me was learning how to adapt into any situation. Obviously I had to adapt during a global pandemic and I was constantly traveling and moving. So that was one of the biggest takeaways, was learning how to adapt and be, you know, malleable in any situation. And yeah. Thank you so much for joining in. Don't forget to like, subscribe down below, hit the notification bell button, And yeah, stay tuned. I will see you soon. Thank you. Bye.